Hey everyone, this is going to be a video of the top 20 traded games that BoardGameCo has traded in 2019. Basically, I just ran the numbers on the 20 most common games that we traded. I also cross-checked that for fun with BoardGameGeek's most popular traded games just to get a feel. 10 of our top 20 matched up with BoardGameGeek's top 20, and then the other 10 we'll get to those at the end. So starting from the bottom up, and I'll give quick notes on my own personal thoughts on the games if I've played them. Most of them I have either played or own or something. We'll cover them. So to begin with, at the very bottom of the list, number 20, we have Reef. Reef is one of the the top 20 games from BoardGameCo that we've traded in 2019. Reef is a great game. I played it myself, but I believe it's by Emerson Matsuuchi, who currently has the Kickstarter Foundations of Rome running. It was great. I enjoyed Reef. I really like the little interplay. I like the little 3D puzzle that's built up as you play it. But ultimately, I didn't feel the need to keep it in my collection in the end. Thankfully, I have many other great gateway games, including, I believe, Century Spice Road by Emerson Matsuuchi as well, is another great gateway game that it was one of many games that made me feel Reef was unnecessary to keep in my collection. Number 19 is Dice Forge. Dice Forge is another great game. I've played it. I enjoyed it. I liked playing it with my wife and daughter, and I ended up getting rid of that one primarily because, again, it was great, a solid game, very enjoyable, good gateway, but the whole pulling the dice faces off was a little too finicky, and it was a little too much work considering the return in terms of the gateway game. I believe the expansion added enough combinations, enough variability that it might be worth trying again, but the base game, between the lack of variability and the playing and fiddling around with the dice faces, I ended up not keeping it, but it was a great experience. Both of these, by the way, again, I haven't kept both of these, but they are both good. The number 18 is The Fox in the Forest. The Fox in the Forest is a trick-taking game. I played it with my partner Dan, who runs BoardGameCo with me, and it was good. I shouldn't take it back. Let me take it back. Sorry. It's a trick-taking game, and I don't believe that I enjoy trick-taking games to begin with. So I did not enjoy it, but I don't believe I am the target audience because I have to date not yet enjoyed a trick-taking game. Number 17 is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. This is the first one on the list that I have not played. I've always wanted to get it, to add it to my collection and to play it at some point. I think that just the age of the game and the current market has just not led to it actually ending up in my collection at any point yet. I probably will play it eventually. I know there's renewed buzz with the reprintings and the additional cases they put out. It's a deduction game. It can be played solo. It can be played with a team. I think it can be played solo. I should double check that. But ultimately, I have not played it, but that is the 17th most traded game by BoardGameCo in 2019. At number 16, we have Paperback. Paperback, another game that I thoroughly enjoyed but have not kept. It's a deck building game involving building word combos. Paperback and its sequel Hardback, the problems I had with them were just that I find word games in general, any kind of word game from the original Scrabble to Paperback or any of these other word domination, there's many of these word building games, I find that they still end up devolving into taking the most time to think of the most optimal word as opposed to just playing it fast. There's something not satisfying about a person staring at a hand of 5 cards trying to figure out whether summation is better than whatever. You can keep iterating towards a better word, and that drags the game down. That being said, again, I did enjoy both of those games thoroughly, just did not end up keeping them. Number 15, we have Codenames Duet. Codenames Duet, another one that happens to be on my shelf right over here. Codenames Duet is the first one on this list that I actually continue to own. Not only do I own it, it is one of my favorite games. In hindsight, I'm wondering if I should have put it in my top 20 games of all time. This is one of my favorite couple games to begin with. I always enjoy playing this with my wife. I always enjoy playing it with my daughter, with my friend. It's really accessible for couples, for casual gamers, and for kids. It's a thoroughly accessible game. It's in the highly popular Codenames series by Vlaada Chvátil, and I really, really recommend it. Number 14, we have Codenames. Codenames itself. Regular Codenames is on the list. I don't believe Codenames Pictures made the list, but I mean, the two of these back to back, they are both really popular games. They trade a lot. They play a lot. They're They're incredible games that I believe everyone should own. I think everyone should own Codenames. It is one of the best party games. There's a few party games that are I thoroughly believe everyone should own. Codenames, Dixit, and of course Monikers, which was in my top 20. These are games that are not only incredible for a gamer, but they are incredible for non-gamers, for bringing people into the hobby. These are the exact kind of games that will bring people into the hobby, and not that you need to force the hobby on people, but I think people should have the opportunity to decide if they want to be involved. And sometimes people growing up in Monopoly on apples to apples, sometimes people don't know there's something better out there. These are great opportunities to show them that there's something better out there, and if they, whatever they want to do next is up to them, but I highly recommend all those games. At number 13, we have Imperial Settlers. Imperial Settlers is another one that I owned, liked, but didn't love. I would say I ranked this a little lower than games like Reef and Dice Forge, meaning Reef and Dice Forge were both games that I would 100% own if not for owning better games. Imperial Settlers, on the other hand, while I did enjoy it, it was a little too open-ended, the card comboing, and I don't know, while I am normally a fan of tableau building, in Imperial Settlers it felt a little bit too wide open, not constricted enough. It's only 5 rounds, but by the time you get to the end of the 5th round, I kind of didn't feel that there was anything I wasn't able to do. I enjoyed it. I do think it's a good game, but I didn't feel the need to own it, and not because there are better games. It's just it was good, but it was good. Number 12, we have Architects of the West Kingdom. Architects of the West Kingdom is currently sitting on my shelf unplayed. I started reading the rulebook last week, actually, although I did not finish that rulebook. Instead, I've since read multiple other rulebooks and played multiple other new games. But Architects of the West Kingdom is one that I've struggled with. I got it way back because of Raiders of the North Sea. I didn't end up keeping Raiders of the North Sea. Definitely a good game, but again, too many good games. So Raiders of the North Sea I didn't get, and I think trading Raiders of the North Sea kind of demoted my desire to play Architects of the West Kingdom. In addition to that, I've heard Paladins of the West Kingdom is a better game. So that's another further reason why I've had less interest in playing Architects. But again, both of them I plan to get into the table. It's just a question of why and when and whatnot. Twilight Struggle is number 11. Twilight Struggle is, I think this is the first one on the list that has been on Board Game Geek's, number 1 spot for quite some time. Obviously, that was years back. Since then, it's gone through a few iterations of Pandemic Legacy, and then Gloomhaven has taken over. But Twilight Struggle is an incredible game. I owned it for quite some time. Eventually, I got rid of it, not because it wasn't amazing. It is amazing. But rather because it fell into the category a category that's grown for me, and grown in a negative way, of games that are too long for the level of amazingness they bring to the table. I believe Twilight Struggle is incredible, but given a 4 hours of 2-player gaming or whatnot, I'd rather play other stuff. It is an incredible experience. I think people should play it. Whether or not you own it is up to you. I mean, this is something we've touched upon in other content I've put out, but the same way you can watch a movie and feel no need to ever watch it again, sometimes a game is worth experiencing even if you won't keep it and even if you won't play it again. There are so many games that I am happy to have experienced, whether one time or multiple times, and then they moved on, and that's fine. It's nice to bring them in, it's nice to get that picture, and then it doesn't always fit. Twilight Struggle I've played multiple times. I think I played it upwards of over 5 times, maybe, I want to say over 10 times, but honestly this is a long time ago, way before I kept stats, so I don't know. But it definitely somewhere in the range of 5 to 10 times, and while a great game, it did not stay in my collection. Number 10 is King Domino. King Domino I got rid of as soon as I played Queen Domino. Queen Domino I kept for quite some time, but also got rid of in the end. This is a great gateway game, very family friendly, very good for kids. I think my kids are a little bit too advanced for it, and from a gateway stance, my friends are a little too advanced for it. It's very, very accessible. You play these little domino type tiles and score based off of a number of areas, and you multiply by the number of crowns. It's a great concept, and it's very well executed. I think that the level of, again, both family and friends that I'm dealing with, it is too light for, but it definitely has an audience, as evidenced by the fact that this is the number 10 traded game for BoardGameCo. Number 9 on the list is Castle of Burgundy. Castle of Burgundy is another one that I absolutely love. This is way back. Castle of Burgundy is probably one of the first 10 gamer games that I own. For my very first batch of games that I bought way back in the day, I got into the hobby, got sucked in a big way, made a bunch of big orders in the first few months, and in those first, I want to say in the first 10 games was Castle of Burgundy. It did not hit the table right away because it is admittedly ugly. They have since come out with a newer edition that, depending on who you ask, is also ugly. But I do plan on getting the new edition. I don't know which one I'm going to keep in the end. The fact that it has all the expansions is a nice draw. And since it's come out, I think I don't know if I've gotten just used to it, but the pictures have become less unattractive of the newer edition. But ultimately, attractiveness aside, Castle of Burgundy is an incredible game. It plays incredibly well with 2. It plays incredibly well with 3. I think with 4 it drags on a little bit, but it is my personal favorite Stefan Feld game. A great game. Number 8 on the list is Citadels. Citadels is another game that I have in my collection. It is, where is it? It is over here. Citadels, right? This guy over here. I have the newer edition. Citadels is, again, a very accessible, quick to teach, quick to play game. Well, it's in the 30 to 45 minute range, but you can teach it in 5 minutes. Ultimately, it's role selection. You pick a role, whether it's the thief, the assassin, then you do something with the role, and you take an action associated with your turn. It has a light element of not so, a little bit social deduction, a little bit of trying to figure out who's who or what's going on. Very accessible, very fun to teach. This is another game that I constantly find that I'm pulling out with people who don't play board games and they have a good time. Which is a common, rather, if you look through this list, a big part of this list is accessible, lighter games. Twilight Struggle so far is the heaviest thing we've seen on this list, and while it is heavy, the next thing down, this is not a heavy list. I found it fascinating compiling this list. Most of these games are very accessible games, like the perfect starter games. I think there's a reason, because also keep in mind this is the top traded games, which doesn't mean it's the top 20 games that are ranked. It's the top 20 traded games, and for games to be traded you need 2 things. You need someone who's giving it away and someone who wants it. You need both those things. Games that everyone is trading are not actually going to be traded. And games that everyone wants but people aren't trading because they just own them, Quacks of Quedlinburg is not going to be on this list because too many people are keeping it. Versus these games are the reason you find them all in this genre, the reason there's so many of them like this, is because people are getting them, enjoying them, they're well ranked, they're popular, but then they move on from them. Maybe they outgrow them or whatnot, but somebody else still wants them. So you need that hybrid. It's not purely a popularity contest, it's a little more complicated than that. Number 7 on the list is Sheriff of Nottingham. Sheriff of Nottingham is another game I'm finding. I have a lot of these games. Okay, ignore the loud crash of boxes hitting the floor. Sheriff of Nottingham is another great game, and this is another thing, by the way. This is my gateway shelf over here. This is my lighter games, my family fare gateway stuff, and this is where I'm pulling all the games from because I have half these games on this shelf over here. But Sheriff of Nottingham is one of my favorite fun games. While I still like Zombicide and Cthulhu Death May Die for my heavier fun games, Sheriff of Nottingham is my easiest, less difficult, more accessible fun game. It's pure bluffing. You put your goods in a bag and then you just lie to your friends, or you don't lie to your friends, or you're honest with your friends about how much you're going to rip them off, but you'll also bribe them along the way. It is sheer fun. I love this game every time I play it. It is a blast. It's incredible. I have nothing but good things to say about it. Number 6, we have Magic Maze. Another one. Geez, this is becoming a very common trend right now. Magic Maze is my number 6 traded game. Not my BoardGameCo's number 6 traded game of all time. It's a no talking game. Everyone's quiet. You just communicate by hoping people figure out what to do, or just putting an angry token in front of them and just putting the token down while you hope that they actually do what you expect them to do. It is, you're trying to get your characters out of a maze, and everyone has a different action assigned to them, so one person can move up, another person can move down, another person can move up escalators, but you're trying to move in tandem, so I move it up, expecting you to move to the left, but I can't tell you that. I have to hope that you see my plan, and that you execute my plan, or inevitably we all fail together. It is an absolute blast. I recommend the expansion. It's great. It adds a lot of life. It breathes a lot of life into the game, but Magic Maze is a great game, highly accessible. Go ahead and try it out. Number 5 is Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis I do not have. I got that one. I played it a few times. I think I played it twice. It's a beautiful game. It was great. I think it's really, again, it's a good game that, like Reef, like Dice Forge, like a few others on this list, I didn't feel the need to keep it given the level of accessible gateway games I already have. I would rather play other ones. I thought it was a little bit, the whole system of the acorns dropping from the tree and how they, I thought it was a little bit too convoluted and not as intuitive as I would have liked for a gateway game, but it was a great game. I mean, this is, again, we're talking about picking the best of the best here. Number 4 is Lost Cities. Lost Cities is a game that I had for years. I eventually got rid of it, I think, last year. Again, it's not that it's not a great game. It's a great game. It's very accessible. 2-player card game, playing cards into a row, trying to figure out the best way to score against your opponent and to score for an escalating series of points. That each row has a default penalty if you start it, but if you get high enough, you'll overcome that. It's a great 2-player card game. I find that I prefer other 2-player card games. Some of the ones I prefer are Battle Line, what's it called, Hanamakoji, and then I recently put out a review of Air, Land, and Sea, or Land, Air, and Sea, one of those. I find I enjoyed other 2-player games more. Lost Cities did stay in my collection for a good 5 years though, but it is a great game. Number 3 on the list, we have Azul. Azul, I would normally pull off the shelf right here, but it's currently been lent out to my mother-in-law to try it out. And she does not play games. Again, this goes back to the whole list here. She heard about it she was on a steampunk forum or something. She heard about it and decided to give it a try, and of course asked me. I had it. I lent it. Azul is a great game. It is my personal favorite in the Azul trilogy. I tried Azul Stained Glass, didn't like it all. I haven't tried Azul Summer one, so I can't really comment on that one. A lot of people seem to like Stained Glass more, and I don't understand why. To me, the main appeal of Azul is the cutthroatness of leaving people bad choices, and I felt that in Azul that happened a lot more often than in Azul Stained Glass. I guess if you're just trying to be nice, I mean, I'm not saying that in a critical way, but if you're just trying to do your own thing, maybe Azul Stained Glass is better, but I like the tough choices that regular Azul forced on me. It is my personal favorite from the 2 I've played, I guess. I should really play the summer one. I think Stained Glass kind of maybe lose interest in the concept, but I should try it out. Number 2 on the list, we have Seven Wonders Duel. Seven Wonders Duel is, well, I mean, also, nope, actually I moved over there. My 2-player shelf, it was over here, but I moved it over there. Seven Wonders Duel is the 2-player version of Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders and Seven Wonders Duel are both still in my collection. Seven Wonders is also from my original top 10, from my original 10 games that I purchased. Seven Wonders Duel, on the other hand, came out later, so that one I got later, but I thoroughly enjoy it. I have to play it more, honestly. It's been a long time since I pulled it out, and it kind of wound up in that funk where I don't know the rules well enough, and I don't like reading the rules for old games, but I need to pull it out again. I have the expansion in the box, have not played with the expansion. From what I remember, it's a great game, tight 2-player experience, and yeah. Number 1 is Arkham Horror the Card Game. Arkham Horror the Card Game is an LCG by Fantasy Flight. It is the first Arkham Horror game that I enjoyed before Cthulhu Death May Die came along. It has this incredible, it has a great narrative, and it has a fun deck building, and I do love the way the cards play out. Honestly, as of right now, I think from a gameplay stance, I currently prefer to Marvel Champions, whereas from a theming stance, I drastically prefer Marvel Champions. Although Marvel Champions I'm still playing around with and feeling out, I am sure that it will overtake Arkham Horror the Card Game in 2020, but for 2019, Arkham Horror the Card Game is still not only the overtaken Marvel, but it is the #1 traded game by BoardGameCo in 2019. That is the main list. From that list, the ones that we shared with our Board Game Geek in terms of top traded were from the bottom up. We have Dice Forge, Imperial Settlers, Architects of the West Kingdom, Twilight Struggle, King Domino, Castle of Burgundy, Photosynthesis, Azul, Seven Wonders Duel, and Arkham Horror the Card Game were all overlapped. The other 10 games in Board Game Geek's top 20 traded games were Suburbia, Race for the Galaxy, Seven Wonders, Root, Clank, Robinson Crusoe, Role Player, Sagrada, Spirit Island, and Terraforming Mars, which I have a bunch of those as well. What I find actually interesting is the Board Game Geek top traded games have a much higher percentage of heavier titles in it than the Board Game Co. top traded games, and I don't really have any clear insights into why, but on the Board Game Geek side, we have Suburbia, Race for the Galaxy, Root, Clank, yeah, if you look at the whole list, other than Sagrada and maybe Seven Wonders, the other 8 games that were not in our top 20, and they were a little bit lower, I think they were all within like the top 50 on our side as well, but they're just heavier. I don't know what that necessarily means, but it is what it is. Anyways, that is the list for today. I hope you found found some sort of meaningful insight. Personally, I found it fascinating to see the difference between the top ranked versus the top traded, the ones that are really moving hands. That's basically it. I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. We do have something that I've been meaning to do for a while now, which is I'm going to add a coupon code into the video. Well, I'm just going to tell you the coupon code, but if you go to our site and use it in the next, let's say, 7 days, I'm going to put this up Sunday, so that if you use it in the next week, I'll have an expiry in the down below, but it's going to be 10% off your order. That coupon code is BGC Top 20 Traded. That's BGC Top 20 Traded. That will give you 10% off your order. Go ahead to our site, boardgameco.com. Go ahead and use it. And other than that, you can message us, trade with us, everything else. You can like the video, subscribe. You can subscribe and watch another video. That's basically been it. This is Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. And remember, good isn't good enough anymore.